Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel where we discuss all things narcissism, and this video is to look into more about codependency surrounding narcissistic relationships. Is the target of a narcissist the codependent person? Were they trained to become a codependent person by a narcissistic person? Is the narcissist actually the codependent one in the relationship? Which a lot more research does need to be done in the areas of codependency, as what we often find is one of the characteristics of codependency is that you overly take responsibility. So when you break free of that relationship and you learn about codependency, you can kind of latch on to the idea that it was all my fault because I was codependent. If only I wasn't codependent, that wouldn't have happened. And you're still blaming yourself when that's more often than not the underlying cause. The underlying cause is the narcissist and their behaviour, their mistreatment towards you. In hindsight, we can often think, oh, I saw that red flag. However, without life experience, we don't recognise what that red flag is telling us. When it comes to dealing with narcissistic people, technically speaking, they fear abandonment, which is why they have to coercively control you in a manner where they are going to, over a period of time, ongoingly, they're going to manipulate you and gaslight you and guilt trip you and force silence on you and isolate you from your friends and your family and your finances, and they're going to take away your confidence and take away your independence to the point where you lose everything. You lose your career, you lose money, you lose homes, you lose children, you lose friends, you lose family, and you look to the outside world like you're an emotional wreck, and you might pick up some toxic habits, some addictions in order to deal with all the stress. So to the outside world, the smear campaign that the narcissist is telling about you can often match how you are behaving, because sometimes the person who's acting emotionally unstable is the very person who is actually being emotionally abused. So when it comes to a narcissistic person, as they fear abandonment, they go all out to take everything away from you so that you cannot abandon them. However, once they've taken everything from you, if they see something shiny and new, because they're often envious of other people, they'll happily discard you and move on to somebody new. You are not allowed to leave them. If you leave them, they will guilt trip you, they will pity play with you, they will fight against it, they will come up with fake illnesses, they will start accusing you, they will play the victim, and they will do all they can to reel you back into their games so that they can find somebody else and be the one to discard you. When it comes to dealing with narcissistic people, what we often find is, due to their gaslighting and their stonewalling and their silent treatments and their narcissistic rage and their victim plays and their guilt trips, we often find ourselves going into the survival mechanisms such as freeze. We begin to disassociate from the situation we are in as it becomes easier to handle within our mind what is happening, because we can't handle what is happening. We might then isolate ourselves from people because we're in such a state, because we're so stressed out. We might isolate ourselves and then we don't recognise what the narcissist is doing. We blame ourselves for isolating ourselves. We can become tired, we can become lazy, we can become depressed, to which a narcissist is going to have earned your trust in the beginning, and then they're going to go right ahead and tell you that you're the one that's lazy, you're the one that's depressed, and it's matching how you're feeling due to the environment you're in with that narcissist. You find it easier to question yourself and not them and the environment you are in with them. It also creates that fawn response where you begin to walk on eggshells around the narcissist for fear of setting the narcissist off into one of their rages. So you can become a people pleaser, and you begin to lose a sense of yourself. You lose your independence, you lose your confidence because you're trying to please them. So if you know it's going to upset them by you going out and meeting your friends and family, you stop going out to meet your friends and family to please them. Now, when it comes to narcissistic people, when you first get into a relationship, they are very good at people pleasing, because they're looking to sell you an illusion so they can exploit you. So when you first enter a relationship with a narcissistic person, they're going to want everything you want. They're going to bend over backwards to help you out and be there for you and earn your trust. So in some aspects, they are codependent because they're going to go all out to please you, to extract what they want from you. And then once they've got what they want from you, they feel resentful towards you because they had to change who they were to serve you, to get something from you. And now they've got that, they're no longer interested in you, so they look for a new source of supply. So some narcissistic people can be codependent people that fear abandonment. We can also have people that have just simply been raised by a narcissistic person. So they've been trained over a long period of time to walk on eggshells, to go into that survival mechanism of freeze or fawn. The pathways in the brain have almost been formed as they've been conditioned to behave in certain ways around people in order to protect themselves. However, they're not doing it to manipulate the other person. They've been conditioned that that is how they should behave around another person in order to keep themselves safe and in order to keep other people happy. So when it comes to those who are codependent, some of the signs are people pleasing. Again, when you've been conditioned over a period of time to behave around a certain person so you don't get a negative reaction, it's very easy to become a people pleaser out of fear of what could potentially go wrong if you don't please the other person. Now, some people can genuinely just want to help other people out, not for fear, not for anything in it for themselves, just because they enjoy helping other people out because it makes them feel good. So just because you enjoy helping others doesn't necessarily make you a people pleaser or codependent. Feeling responsible for everything, taking the blame for everything. Well, again, when you've been blamed and shamed your entire life, it sort of creates that thought process within your mind that you are responsible for everything that goes wrong. So when people accuse you of being responsible, you take the blame, which is often why you are trained into apologising often for things that you haven't even done. When you're blamed for everything and you're somebody who takes responsibility for everything, the person who's blaming you fails to take responsibility and they continue to shift the blame over to you. Poor communication. If you're raised by a narcissistic person, you never really learn how to communicate effectively until you are older and see examples from genuine people who are communicating healthily and learn that process. And as we develop, we learn more and we become more confident in our approach. However, with narcissistic people, whether you were raised by narcissistic parents or end up in a narcissistic relationship, you begin to walk on eggshells around them and fear communicating with them because communication is so confusing with a narcissistic person. You cannot win with them. What was right one day will be wrong the next day. They come at you with the narcissist word salad, not the word salad from other things such as schizophrenia, where they just blurt out random words. The narcissist word salad, where they're looking to lie and distract and deflect and shift the blame, and they'll change the subject from one to another to take you around the houses so nothing ever gets resolved with them, and you end up feeling so confused around them. So you fear speaking out, and if you do speak out, they accuse you of attacking them, or they accuse you of going against them, of not taking their side, of not caring about them. So you become a poor communicator with them because you cannot communicate with insincere people. You begin to question whether you're the one that's too sensitive, because they're going to accuse you of being too sensitive, and because you are beginning to panic about speaking to them. You can find it very difficult to make everyday decisions. And when you're around a narcissistic person, you make a decision one day and it might be right, the next day it's wrong. So it becomes incredibly challenging to make a decision. They tell you to book a restaurant, and then they come home and ask you why have you booked that restaurant, and create a big scene and tell you to cancel it. So it becomes very challenging to make a decision around a narcissistic person who does not want you to think for yourself. They don't want to teach you how to think for yourself. They want you to think in a manner that serves them. So whenever you have a difference of an opinion, they're going to start attacking you. So it's easier to no longer think for yourself and to shut down who you are. They get you to a point where you no longer ask for your needs to be met. You daren't ask for your needs to be met. And if you ever do, they accuse you of being awkward and selfish and demanding. And because you're taking responsibility, you think, oh, maybe I am. And with a narcissistic person, they future fake with you to raise your expectations and get their needs met by you. And then once their needs are met and you bring up something that you agreed to do together, they turn around and gaslight you and claim that they never said that, or you're imagining things, or you're going crazy, which when you're isolated and tired and depressed and blaming yourself for everything, you question yourself and not the very person who's doing this to you. And this can naturally start to build up some form of resentment within you. That resentment can then lead to anger. And when it comes to dealing with a narcissistic person, they're going to provoke you, they're going to goad you, they're going to push every single button they can to wind you up, to get you going. So you have an emotional outburst at them, and they can stand back and say, wow, I think you might need help. You're going a little bit crazy. You having a bad day? And they're all calm and smug because they've got what they wanted. They've got that emotional reaction from you. You have to take your emotions out of the conversation when dealing with emotional manipulators, because they are going to use each and every one of your emotions against you to get their needs met by you. Their gaslighting is going to cause that cognitive dissonance. So the reality you were sold is not matching the reality that you're given, yet you're being blamed for the reality you've got. And as you're taking responsibility for who you are, you fear just speaking your mind. You fear rejection. You fear abandonment, because they've trained you to believe that you're unlovable and you're not good enough and no one else would put up with you, and that you're incapable, and they've taken your independence and they've taken your confidence, so you no longer know where to turn to. And then they tell you that no one's going to believe you, and because you are feeling like you're going crazy and you are the one that's causing all the issues, you daren't speak out. And when you do speak out to try and unravel what you have been through, you can become emotional. And then you can start to go in your shell and avoid speaking out. You can also begin to take things personally, because narcissistic people make things personal. That's how they provoke you. They're going to use the things that matter to you to the most against you, as these are the things you're going to most passionately defend. And when they're making things personal towards you, that can affect other areas of your life and other relationships, because you're forever second guessing everything and trying to work out where you're going wrong and what you're doing wrong because of the environment and the conditioning you've received from a narcissist that's coercively controlling you and your reality. So narcissistic people tend to take things personally because they perceive themselves to be perfect. They don't make mistakes. And that's where the difference lies between a person who's sort of been trained to be codependent and a narcissistic person who fears abandonment, so will sell you an illusion to people please to get what they want and avoid communication, have that poor communication because they don't want to be found out about what they've done. Instead, they shift the blame over to other people. Is narcissistic people perceive themselves to be perfect. So even if you give them constructive feedback, they take offense to this. It causes a narcissistic injury. They go into narcissistic rage. They attack you. You begin to freeze or fawn and walk on eggshells around them, and they get their own way. Whereas with you, you take things personally because you take responsibility for everything and question yourself and doubt yourself and try and work out how you can change, how you can improve, what you can do better. Narcissistic people believe that everyone else around them needs to change. And if those around them aren't willing to change, they go all out to attack those people, to accuse those people. They go all out to shame and blame and humiliate those people so that the narcissist can continue their reign of terror against others. When it comes to dealing with narcissistic people, the best way to deal with them is don't. Go no contact. Leave them to go and live their life while you go and live yours. Not easy. And not always possible, which is why in some cases we need rules to deal with narcissistic people. However, you do need to be careful around those who lack empathy. If anyone has any thoughts on this video, please do add those into the comments. Thank you very much to all the returning subscribers and your continued support with the channel. It's greatly appreciated. If you are new to the channel, I'm Elizabeth Shaw. This channel is all about narcissistic behaviour to give you more understanding of the people you might be dealing with within your life, how to handle yourself around those people if you cannot go no contact, and different methods to find what works for you to help you understand and overcome narcissistic and emotional abuse. If you do find the information helpful on the channel, please do subscribe. If you are looking for further help and support in understanding and overcoming narcissistic and emotional abuse, I do have several online guides available, and those teachable links are in the video description. If you're looking for someone to speak to, I have partnered with BetterHelp, and their sponsored link is also in the video description. Go out there and create the day that you deserve, because you do deserve to have an amazing day. Bye.